else. It's not just getting rid of your back pain, your neck pain. We want to be about you. We all thriving, all right? And thriving takes really, really, really amazing health. So part of having really amazing health is having really amazing nutrition. Most people think to eat good, you have to leave tasting good at the door. It doesn't have to be that way. You just got to learn how to do it properly. So today we got really excited to have a real special guest. This is Joe Gardner. He's
Guys.
with a smiling face up here. He's been a chef for over 20 years. He's been working with the Rockies Corporation for, what was it, 15? Is that what you told me?
15 plus.
15 plus, in pretty much every phase that you can do it, right?
Absolutely. And
went to school at both Schoolcraft and MSU to just get really good at his craft. So I hope you all can learn something. Those that are doing the cleanse, this is a great way to cook for the cleanse so you don't get bored eating the same things over and over and over. Take it away, Joe.
Okay. Hello, everybody. You know, as far as your cleanse goes, what I'm doing today should be happy for you. What I want to do is just talk a little bit about food preparation, putting yourself in a position to succeed. I know it can be a little daunting and overwhelming when you think about, like, some of the stuff even I'm doing here seems very simplistic to me, but for somebody at home, oh my gosh, it's all about having everything in place and thinking about how you do things. And I'm just going to touch base on some of that. I'm going to touch base just a little bit on nutrition too. Not my forte. I'm a happy guy, taking fat, whole butter, cream. I love it. I left that all out today and left it at home. But when you speak of vegetables, just keep in mind they're all nutrient dense. You don't have to cook them to death either. When you think of vegetables, roasting them and baking them in the oven is a far better way for you to get a good flavor. Anytime you boil a vegetable, you're actually extracting all the flavor out of it, contrary to popular belief. So what you want to do is you want to slow cook, you want to slow roast, you actually want to do it inside the skin, because all the flavors and the simple sugars that are in there, time to be happy. When you think of vegetables, I want you to think outside the box a little bit. You think of butternut squash, you might just roast it at home and cut it up. Think instead of mashed potatoes, do butternut squash. Roast it just like you would at home. Cut it in half, take the seeds out, put it on a sheet tray, skin side up, a little bit of water so it doesn't stick. Roast it, take the skin off, and make mashed potatoes out of it. You think of spaghetti squash, cut them in half, roast them, same way, just a little water. You don't have to add, salt and pepper goes a long ways. You don't have to have butter or fat. Take that spaghetti squash, when it's done, take a fork and pull it. It's spaghetti squash because why? It looks like spaghetti. Believe it or not, you don't need to eat spaghetti or pasta. You can just take that spaghetti squash hot after you pulled it, your regular old spaghetti sauce on top of it. Whatever it is and how you cook at home. Think outside of the box when you think of vegetables. Think of them as center of the plate also. It doesn't have to be proteins. Vegetables, believe it or not, have tons of nutrients. They have tons of protein. And they taste great. And you just might not be accustomed to some of these vegetables. Stay seasonally. If you go to the markets, eat from the markets. Stay local. If you go to the grocery store, stay on the outside aisles. Stay with the produce section. Walk around, taste things. No one's going to come over and slap handcuffs on you. Break a little bit of the Swiss chard off. Taste it. Taste the arugula. I'm telling you, it's a good way to cook and it's a good way to live. I mean, just if you look at parsnips, high in potassium, lowers cholesterol in blood. This is, I mean, you can't beat that. It's an anti-cancer, it's an anti-inflammatory, it's an antifungal. Most of these vegetables, especially these root vegetables, they're high in vitamin A, they're high in vitamin C, E, calcium. You can, if you eat well enough, you can start to alleviate some of these supplements that you might be taking in daily vitamins. Buy a juicer. Make some smoothies. Eliminate dairy from your smoothies. Instead of making a smoothie with frozen fruit and adding yogurt to it or cream or dairy, juice some kale. Put it in an ice cube tray. Freeze them. Throw a couple kale ice cubes inside that juice when you make that smoothie. Add nutrients to what you're doing. Real basic cooking for me, but maybe not so much for you guys. I'm not sure where you're at and what you do and how you cook at home. when you cook at home, something that you guys should do that'll help you out is do everything at the same time. Get yourself a bigger cutting area. When I watch people cook at home, one of the things I notice is that they'll have this little teeny cutting board. They'll have this little teeny paring knife, and they'll be trying to work in this little section. Spread it out. Give yourself some space so you're comfortable. If you're doing stuff with carrots, celery, and onions, prep them all together at the same time. Don't peel the carrots and then cut them. And then cut the onions, and then cut the celery. Peel the carrots, peel the onions, wash the celery, peel the celery, and then cut them all at the same time. When you cut vegetables, when you're cooking at home, cut all your vegetables however you're going to cook them so they cook at the same time so you can mix them together. If you're going to just saute some squash and some red peppers together and some onions, cut all your vegetables so when you throw them in the pan, they all cook at the exact same time so you don't have a crispy onion, a limp piece of squash, and a red pepper that is still raw. Think about what you're doing when you're doing it. Season your food. Don't be afraid of salt. I know that some people might not necessarily agree with me on that concept, but think of salt as flavor. You add salt to food, it hits your taste buds, it hits your tongue. Think of, how can I explain it? Think of all these happy little tendrils on your tongue. You add salt to them, more of them pop up. The more of them pop up, the more flavorful your food is. That's why you season it. That's why you eat food. It also obviously adds flavor to food, but it also increases your appetite. At that moment, which also in your brain and the rest of your system is like, wow, this tastes good. It's those little things that you can do. When you prep stuff, if you use a lot of carrots, and you use a couple pounds of carrots a week, peel them. Cut the ends off. Put them in a Tupperware container with some water. Put a lid on it. They're not going to go bad in your refrigerator. Peel 2 or 3 pounds of onions or shallots or whatever you work with. Put them in a Tupperware container. They're going to be airtight. You're going to get 4 days out of them, if not 5. Have your vegetables and everything you're cooking with all in place. So when you actually go to cook, it's not this daunting task of, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? What I'm doing for you tonight is a real simple thing for me. And you can play on this 1,000 ways. I kept it real simple, but when you let you eat protein or not, you can take this as a side and you can start using protein on top as a center plate, whether it be a grilled salmon or a grilled piece of chicken. Or you can just eat this as vegetable as you want. You can start adding other vegetables to it, whatever it is you enjoy flavor-wise. We're doing a root vegetable hash tonight. I'm using sweet potatoes, I'm using turnips, I'm using rutabaga, butternut squash, carrots, and parsnips. I don't know if everybody's familiar with these things, if you cook with them. I'm not sure, but you should. They're great in flavor. You got anybody cook with parsnips?
I on occasion.
Yeah, most people don't. They look at them like, ooh, white carrot, I don't know what it is. Well, you know what? It's a carrot. You're right. It is very, very similar. It's a little earthier. It's a little bit more full flavor. It's actually twice as sweet as a carrot is, especially when you roast it in the oven instead of peeling it and boiling it. I'm going to put myself way out there. I do believe back in the days in certain areas on this planet where they didn't have sugar available, they'd use parsnips in the process of cooking parsnips as a substitute for sweetener for their food. So don't think of, oh, I'm not using honey, or I can't use sugar, or I can't add sweeteners to it. All this stuff has natural sugars in it. They're good for you. I'm also using kale, Tuscan kale. A little bit spicier. For me, it's a little firmer of a texture. When I think of kale, I usually don't cook it. For me, kale is a vegetable plant that I usually eat raw. Tons of nutrients. You can cook it and you lose a little bit of those nutrients. What I suggest is you don't boil it. You start boiling vegetables, you're just extracting everything out of it and you're wasting your time. But anyway, I'm using kale. Real simple. Kale comes on a stem. It's about this long. Some of them are short, some of them are long. What you want to do is you want to take the stem, you want to pull all the leafy greens off it. Make sure you remove the stem. The stem is bitter. You don't want to cook it, you want to eat it. It is nutrient dense. If you so feel the urge to chew on a kale stem, by all means. Unlike Swiss chard, another beautiful green, the stem itself has great flavor, and you can cook it, but you got to cook it differently. Pick the kale. Tear it up into leaf-sized chunks comparable to the size of a spinach leaf. Okay, that's what I have here. Tuscan kale. I also took all these vegetables I talked about, the parsnips and the carrots and the rutabaga and the turnips. You guys all know what a rutabaga is? Yeah. You know what family it's actually from?
Isn't it a turnip?
It's like a turnip. It's a turnip and a cabbage almost combined, very close. They're all with broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, turnips, rutabaga. Rutabaga is a little bit sweeter, has a higher sugar, has a higher fat content. Dietary fiber, actually, I do believe has insoluble dietary fiber in it. So you take all these vegetables and you roast them in the oven. You don't have to add anything to them. If I'm at home doing it, I'm going to toss them with just a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, just enough to coat the skin, a little bit of salt. I'm going to roast them in the oven. I printed out some recipe cards for you guys. You don't need them now, but to take home with you, because you're going to cook these vegetables in the oven, 350 degrees, and they all cook roughly a little different period of time. So you're going to cook them until they're just done, pork tender. You still want them to be a little bit firm. You're going to cool them down, and you're going to peel all the skins off. And you're going to cut them any size you want. Today I diced them up, like a small to medium dice, 1/4 inch. You can do whatever you want with them. You can slice them, you can saute chunks, whatever works for you. So I took all these vegetables, I lightly boiled them, I seasoned them with salt, roasted them in the oven, I cooled them down, peeled them, and diced them. So now I have the kale, I have these root vegetables. I'm going to do basically a potato hash without potatoes other than a sweet potato. Instead of using olive oil, or if I was at the restaurant, it'd be bacon fat or butter. That tastes good. I'm going to use a little bit of coconut oil, a little bit of healthier product for you. And when you think of cooking in oils, a lot of flavor out there in them. A plethora of them you can pick from, like coconut or safflower or extra virgin olive oil if you so, stay away from anything that's processed, your canolas, your soybeans. Not good for you. You're better off using whole grass-fed butter, to be honest with you. So I'm going to do basically a little potato hash. I'm going to saute these vegetables, a little bit of coconut oil, some salt and pepper. I'm going to add the kale. I'm going to add a little bit of water. If you don't want to use water, you want to infuse more flavor, you could use vegetable stock. You could use chicken stock. You could use brandy or sherry if you want to go out there. Maybe not what you want to do with your diet, but water will work because they all have great flavor. You're just going to warm the vegetables because they're already Ninja or something similar to that. That works. Get a good blender. Get a good food processor, RoboFood, juicer. Have fun with what you do. But I just took this squash that I already cooked. I put it in a pot. I added orange juice to it, orange zest to it, ginger, fresh ginger that I roasted and grated, a little bit of honey, salt, pepper, and some coconut oil. I cooked it in the pot so all the flavors could meld and be happy together like a party. Give them some time to blend together. Put them in a blender and blended it. Pushed it through a fine mesh strainer. Let it be a nutmeg, cheesecloth, a fine mesh strainer, something you would sift flour with, anything like that will work. Adjusted it with some salt and pepper. Really easy peasy. Great flavor, contrast. You're gonna taste it and go, there's no fat in here other than the coconut oil. There's just salt in there. There's no chicken stock in there. There's nothing in there other than what I just said. And you're gonna taste it and go, wow, flavor explosion. That's because I took what is here, bounty on our planet, and just extracted as much flavor I could out of it. And it doesn't take much to do that. It might seem daunting. There's a gentleman named James Peterson. Wrote a ton of cookbooks. If you have problems with cooking or you want to take what you do to a different level, great guy. Worked with a plethora of chefs. He's got a book called Vegetables. He's got a book called Cooking. His name's James Peterson, and it's very helpful. And it actually has pictures and shows you how to break things down that you might not necessarily do, from turnips to fresh artichokes. It's a happy book. I gave it to my wife for Christmas a few years ago, and she's absolutely fallen in love with it. I'm going to cook for you here in a second, but I wanted to have a chance for you guys to maybe do a little Q&A with me as I start to heat up, because it's going to take me, with these two little burners, a little bit longer to be able to cook enough food for all of you at the same time. Before we do that, when you think of cooking, think of seasoning. Don't be afraid of it. Think of salt. There are a bunch of salts out there that are great, and you might be like, what are you talking about? Go to Marshall's. Believe it or not, Marshall's has an array of seasonings, salts, oils, vinegars, outstanding, that are way outside of the box, that are real affordable, good price point for you, from truffle salt to pink salt, Himalaya salt, blueberry vinegars. You can make beautiful things. You know, stay away from the grocery stores. Don't buy vinaigrettes. Make them. It's really simple. It's 3 parts oil, 1 part vinegar. That's it. 3 parts oil, 1 part vinegar. I mean, you could literally take 3 tablespoons of any kind of oil you want, a tablespoon of vinegar, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. You could even put a little Dijon mustard or yellow mustard in there, or honey if you wanted it sweet. Blend it up. You have a vinaigrette. Add some fresh herbs to it. Now you have an herb vinaigrette. You want an orange vinaigrette? Use orange juice. Omit the vinegar. Use oil and orange juice. You want to get good nutrients, you want to make your body happy, stay away from processed foods. Make them yourself. Do it at home. I know it sounds daunting, and it's like, make my own salad dressings. How hard is it to take oil and balsamic vinegar, some salt and pepper, and whisk it together? Add some herbs to it, add some diced shallots to it. It's not. It will stay in your fridge for a week, if not longer. I strongly suggest you do it, and you start thinking about vegetables. Julienne them up like a long shredded cabbage. You can take kale and julienne it up, and parsnips and carrots and pea pods and sugar snaps. Make a vinaigrette, toss it with vinaigrette. Now you have a slaw, a vegetable slaw. You're not even cooking it. The acid will slowly break down the vegetable a little bit. It will limp it a little bit. It will still have a bite. It will still be a little crisp, but it will be happy. You don't want to julienne vegetables? Too much? Too hard? Go to Bed Bath & Beyond. Buy a mandolin, aka slicer. You can slice all your vegetables on it. It's super easy. My 13-year-old does it. Think outside of the box when you do things. Don't omit French fries. Omit mashed potatoes. Roast your potatoes. Salt, pepper, oil, paprika, chili powder. Start experimenting with spices and herbs. Peppers have great flavor. Think of this. This is as simple as it gets. Take arugula, or Swiss chard, or kale. Put it in a pan. Olive oil, lemon juice, salt, pepper. Done. Beautiful flavor. Simple, crisp, clean. You don't have to add a bunch of things and hide what you're actually doing until they go wow. And what you do, and how you eat. Your body will appreciate it, you will appreciate it, your family will appreciate it. I think it's a way of life and a way of living. It's hard for me to balance the two because I like fat, I like butter, I like cream, I like bacon. That's how I live, but you don't have to live that way. Vegetables are happy. They're nutrient dense, and when you start thinking about proteins, you start adding them to your vegetables. Do yourself a favor, stay with lean cuts. Stay away from fatty meats. Do some research and go on the internet, Google, think about what you're eating. Know what you're putting in your body. Know where it comes from. Look at the labels on the grocery store. What are you eating? Where is it actually coming from? Eat seasonally. Beets, don't buy canned beets. Roast them. It's easy. Put it in a pot. A little bit of water. Put some foil on it. Put it in the oven, 350 degrees. Check it every 20 minutes. It'll eventually be soft. Cool it down, peel it, beautiful. Don't use red beets, use golden beets. Way more vitamins, way more flavor, better sugar content, better texture, not as mealy, beautiful beet. Beet greens. Maybe you don't eat those. You should. It tastes great. You might think I'm crazy, but I'm not. Turnip greens. Good for you. High in vitamins. Great things. Make you happy. I'm going to cook for you real quick. While I'm doing that, if you guys want to ask me any questions, we can go from there. None?
Eat for hire?
Root bacon greens are maybe as good as the
Never had them, so I honestly can't answer that question. I would assume that they're fairly close.
How do you roast ginger?
That's an easy one. Roasting, oh no. Roasting ginger, you just buy fresh ginger. Buy fresh ginger, leave it right in the skin, put it in a bowl, do maybe thumb-sized chunks. You know, they've got like this tuberous like root going on, break them off, thumb-sized chunks. Put them in a bowl, a little bit of your oil of choice, salt, pepper, toss. Pick a vessel that's appropriate to the size of how much ginger you're using. Put it in the oven and roast it. It won't get soft. It will actually almost stay the same. It will take at 350 degrees probably 5 to 20 minutes depending on how much you have and the size of the ginger. It will start to look like the skin's shriveling up and wilting. It'll start to get black around the outside where you've broken it and you'll see juice coming out. That's just the natural sugar. It's actually caramelizing and turning black. At that point, pull it out of the oven, cool it down. It will never really be soft because it's a fibrous root. Once you cool it down, then you can peel it with a peeler or cut the ends off with a knife. Run it through a box grater. The flavor you get in it will be crisp, it will be cleaner, it will be very similar to if you've ever had pickled ginger, minus the acid. Really good flavor, real sweet, real crisp, real clean, really a bite up in your face. Maybe for some people it's a little, maybe too offensive. For me, I'm happy. So anyway, you want to get a moderate pan here, to some degree.
What can you do with the ginger? Because you're not going to use that much. Can you put it in the fridge?
It'll sit in your refrigerator for weeks on end.
It will?
It will. You'll get 12 to 14 days inside a proper temperature refrigerator, no problem, before it even thinks about molding. No matter how much moisture content's in your refrigerator. You can also put it at that point, or before that, put it in a plastic Ziploc bag, put it in your freezer. It will be there till the end of time. It will never go away, it will never die, it will never change. It's so fibrous, it holds its moisture so well from being frozen and coming in and out that it doesn't affect the structure of it one bit. When it goes to vegetables, don't buy cheap. They're vegetables. You know, don't buy cheap. Stay true to what you want to eat and enjoy it. If you're a potato person, you eat meat potatoes, that's fine. Stop buying Idaho's. Buy fingerling potatoes. Buy Yukon Golds. Go out there and try them at least. If you're not happy, you don't like them, that's fine. Try different potatoes. Try yams. Try sweet potatoes. That's just my suggestion.
I can tell. I've been on the cleanse for 10 days now, and
I know how you're feeling.
no, I'm kidding. But I can tell you that buying the vegetables that you should have, and not buying the chips and all the other stuff that you usually buy, you usually come out ahead anyway. So if you're not spending your money on all that junk, it really doesn't come out, because a lot of times buying vegetables seems like it's an expensive ordeal.
Yeah, it can be, and I'll be honest with you, and most people think that way, and
You turned it off again.
Yeah, it's all right. I don't want to smoke this place out. I can turn it back just that quick. When you talk about vegetables and proteins and stuff, most people probably don't realize this. When you break down produce and vegetables and dairy, meat and fish, and like dry storage products, what do you think is the #1 expenditure in a restaurant? In a full service tablecloth restaurant? Take a guess. Seafood and fish usually sits at the top. Meat sits right there in even plane with produce. I didn't think that either. But when I look at it every day, that's where it sits. Vegetables cost money, and you gotta pay for good vegetables. You get what you pay for. Don't skimp on it. Be proud of what you're buying, who you buy it from, and enjoy it. For me, if I can buy something for half the price, 9 times out of 10, there's usually a reason for it. It might look good, but it's not going to have the same flavor profile. It's not going to last as long. Take a look at your stuff. Take a real good hard look at it when you pull your things apart, when you open up your heads of lettuce. Look at the labels where it comes from. I can't stress it enough. Buy locally. if you're not buying it locally, where are you getting it from? How's it getting here? How long is it? You know, I'll give you a good example. You guys all like salmon? Yeah? All salmon eaters? You guys familiar with wild salmon? Yeah? Do you know what the season on wild salmon is? No? Usually starts about beginning of April. And it goes until about the end of August. It goes in runs. It's wild. Most of it's caught up in Alaska around the sounds. It starts with the king salmon, then it goes into the sockeyes, and it goes into the cohos, and it goes into the pink and the chums. If you're not familiar with those, that's what they do canned salmon out of. That's what they make fish food out of, cat food out of, low fat content. But anyway, that's really the only time of year you can get fresh salmon, just in case you didn't know. The rest of the time, if you're getting fresh salmon, it is farm raised. It is from Norway. It is from Scotland, you know, Norwegian. It's from Chile. Some of it's raised out in ponds in the ocean. Some of them are natural because they have the feed. When you get like Scottish salmon, it's pretty natural. It's out in the ponds. There's enough fresh feed coming through those ponds in the ocean that they don't have to feed it much. It's got a nicer fat content. But when you get the Chilean salmon, they're feeding that. It's a warmer water. They're feeding the heck out of it. Think about how far Chile is from Miami. You're like, what difference does that matter? Miami is the port it comes in, period. All it comes into Miami. It has to be out of the water and processed. It takes at least 24 to 48 hours before it can get packaged and get on a ship or a plane and get to Miami. It sits in Miami for at least 24 to 48 hours before it clears customs and goes to wherever it goes. If you're eating Chilean salmon, it has been out of the water for almost a week. It doesn't spoil. Do you know why? Because before they harvest it, they starve it. You know why they starve it? To get rid of the fat. Why? Because fat spoils faster than anything else. To eat it is, in my opinion, you're kind of wasting your time. If you're gonna eat fresh salmon, you're better off eating refreshed, frozen, wild Alaskan salmon than buying fresh Chilean salmon. If you're gonna eat farm-raised salmon, eat Norwegian, or even better yet, eat Scottish salmon. To be honest with you. So anyway, as these vegetables, even though I roasted them in the oven, I don't know if you can you guys see this? See how they start to get the light brown on them? As long as you don't go to the point where they're starting to get black, you're actually getting more flavor in here. Even though I roasted them and I concentrated the flavors inside the oven, I'm caramelizing them right now. This is the sugar, it's turned into caramel. You know what caramel sauce is? That's just sugar that's been cooked. At that point, depending on the size, they've started to break down, they're starting to get warm. You know, season as you go. I use salt and pepper mix. Kosher salt, cracked black pepper, dry thyme. You can do whatever you want. To be honest with you, the better the salt, the better the flavor you're going to get. You know, at this point, it's really a simple process. You're going to add some kale to it. You know, how much kale do you want? Well, that's kind of up to you. You know, what are you using it for? How are you going to eat it? Once again, season the kale. Make it happy. You know, make it alive. At this point, I want to add brandy to it. I want to add to it really bad, but I'm not. I'm going to stay true to you. I'm going to add some water to it. You got to let the kale break down just a little bit. It's not going to do it on itself without burning it up. You know, you could add some red onions to this. You could add some mushrooms to this. Just good old sliced shiitake mushrooms. Red onions would be a good flavor to go with this.
Joe, that's a well-developed flip that you get there too.
Yeah.
How long does it take to get that?
Yeah,
Am I getting ya?
No, I haven't seen it all.
It will come. So if you could just take some of the butternut squash coulis and you put it on the base of the plate, then you can just take some of this kale with these root vegetables, like so, and just put on top. If you added other vegetables, let them be red onions or anything else you wanted to add to it, mushrooms, you could start creating more of a meal with this. You could leave it like this and put a protein on it. You could add nuts to it. Toasted almonds on here would be great. Toasted pumpkin seeds would be great on here. Matter of fact, butternut squash, the seeds are actually edible. You could use those too. You know, Are you guys eating grains on this diet?
Can you get the box of numbers right
Okay. No grains at all?
there? No grains. You can have brown and wild rice, and we can have chickens.
Okay, lentils. Love them. Lentils are great.
Most people don't know how to enjoy them. How do you enjoy them with them?
You guys all eat lentils?
I just made lentil soup yesterday, but I've never done it before.
Yeah. You know, if you take just lentils by themselves, and you're not using chicken stock, but let's just pretend you are. You can always use water, but let's just pretend you are. Take some chicken stock, right? Bring it up to a simmer.
It's a lot.
Add some lentils to it, and simmer the lentils in that chicken stock. Or julienne vegetables. At work, we actually serve a warm lentil salad, where we take the lentils, we cook them, cool them down, and then we dice a bunch of vegetables, or roast them, and then chop them up, or grill them, and then chop them up. And then we take those vegetables and we mix it with the lentils. Then we add a basic vinaigrette. At work, we use a bacon vinaigrette with bacon and malt vinegar. Probably want to stay away from that, but just a basic red wine vinaigrette would be good. Toss it with that, add some fresh herbs to it, and now you have a lentil salad. You can eat that warm, you can eat that cold, you can use it as a center of a plate salad by itself. There's a lot of good nutrients in it. You could add protein on top of it, let it be chicken. You know what would have been helpful? If you have somebody come do this again, suggest they bring a shaping dish.
Okay, we can do that.
That would be good.
What, a shaping dish?
Yeah, if I could have cooked it on, you could have came and helped yourself. I'm joking. You don't have to make soup out of lentils. You know what actually goes good with lentils if you just cook them, follow the recipe right on the back? Take wild rice. Cook wild rice, cook lentils, and mix the lentils with the wild rice with some julienne or diced onion.
Stop there.
So on the same line, we can do soups with this too. If we want to make a good nutritious, fast, like veggie stock, it's a
Yes.
good way to do it. It's the best veggies to use for a good veggie stock.
All vegetables.
All vegetables.
Stay with them all. Vegetables are happy. The vegetables you're going to want to stay away from are like your red onions. Red onions are really bitter, real strong flavor to them. They'll actually make your stock real dark. It'll look like a beef stock. You won't be very happy at all.
But how do you make a vegetable stock?
Real easy. Take all your vegetable scraps and save them. We actually use ours for compost because it seems a pity to throw them away, but take all your vegetable scraps, save them. Rough chop them, let them be your peels, let them be your stems. Put them in a pot. This will work. Let's just pretend this is our pot. Take all our vegetables in here, fill this pot up halfway. Add water the first time because you don't already have vegetable stock. But if you did, you would use vegetable stock because now you're fortifying flavors. So add your water, and now you need to garnish it. What makes you happy? Stick with peppercorn, bay leaf, thyme. Real simple. Peppercorn, bay leaf, thyme. Any kind of stock you make. Simmer that stock. Vegetables don't take long. Simmer that stock for maybe 2 hours, 3 hours. At that point, strain it. Now you have a vegetable stock. You have a bunch of it. What am I going to do with all this stuff? I'm going to go back to the ice cubes. Use ice cube trays, put your vegetable stock, put your chicken stock in them. Take those once they're frozen, break them out, put them in plastic bags and label them. Our freezer is riddled full of bags. Pork stock, chicken stock, beef stock, vegetable stock. Now whenever you need it, you can just take some ice cubes out and do whatever you want to do. Make it happy, happy, happy. Don't waste there should be nothing that you're purchasing that is not good for something. If you're not growing vegetables, make vegetable stock. You're not using them for compost. If you don't want to do any of that, you got any neighbors that do, give them to them. It's the winter time. Obviously, we're not growing any vegetables outside because we're not that ambitious. But our neighbor has chickens, so what we do is we give him our scrap vegetables, and in return, we get fresh chicken eggs. So we don't have to buy them from the store, which is always really nice. You open up your fridge, everything should be lined up very systematically. Vegetables on top. Do you guys put in your refrigerator, do you put your proteins on the bottom? Yeah? You should. It's actually, as your refrigerator circulates air, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, the top of the refrigerator, believe it or not, is actually a little bit warmer in temperature than the bottom is. Call me crazy, but it is. The door of your refrigerator and the stuff up front obviously is a little bit warmer too. Vegetables are happy between 40 and 45 degrees. Most of your refrigerators are 40 degrees or colder. Keep them towards the front. Keep them out towards the door. Keep them towards the top. Don't put them in the bottom. They will start to get cold. They will start to don't do that. Believe it or not, every single thing that you have in your fridge has a happy zone and temperature of where it should be. I got more, but I want to give you some kale to go with it, so have some patience with me. Meats obviously want to be colder. They want to be closer to your 32, between right above freezing up to like 35 degrees. So you want to keep them towards the bottom. And it's health code too. You don't want raw meat above vegetables that you may or may not cook. You're going to put yourself in a position to get sick. Dairy is happier closer to between 35 and 40 degrees. I know it doesn't sound like much and you're like, it's a refrigerator, it's not that big of a deal. I'm telling you, it'll make a difference on how long your product lasts and what you have in your fridge and how happy it is. Treat it like you would want to be treated, you know, if you can. I also suggest, and it might be too much to ask, try to go to the store more often. Don't try to be that person who shops once a week. You know, think about meal planning. Think about, what am I going to eat this week? What do I need? What do I need for these first few days? What can I go back to the store for that I can get? It'll also put you in a position of thinking about how you're going to cook and what you're going to do, and you're going to start utilizing products in the same dishes. So if you're using carrots for something on Monday, you might be using it for something on Wednesday or Friday also. So go ahead and peel those carrots, cut them, get ready for the application. If you're going to eat broccoli twice in 1 week, have it prepped, have it in a bag, take it off wash it, take it off the stem. You guys all wash your vegetables, right? Okay, that's good. Some people don't, believe it or not. I actually have kids who come to me from Schoolcraft and Oakland Community College with degrees in culinary arts, and we'll go grab lettuce or go grab green beans and get ready to use them for their application, and I have to stop them and go, what are you doing? I know it seems silly to ask that, but some people don't. If you're not eating organic, if you're not washing your vegetables, you don't know what you're eating. Pesticides are bad.
I think that's the one thing I worry about when I go out to eat. I always think, I wonder if they wash this stuff.
You know what? You want to eat healthy? Look at the menus before you go out. Most places have them online now, even like your bar and grills and your Coney Islands, actually, and even your White Table Farms restaurant. They have stuff online. Look at the menu, look at the items that are on the dishes, and think about what you're about to order and what they're making. You'll start to see a pattern, and you'll start to see a trend in their product. A lot of restaurants, even smaller places, will actually highlight and share with you where they're buying their stuff, because they're proud of it. They want you to know they're getting it local, they're getting it from local farm. Stick with people who have a good track record when you go out to eat. That are Breakfast Club, good example, right here in Brighton. Have any of you been there? Have you guys ever met the owner, Penny? Yeah? Beautiful lady, used to be an instructor. She's a chef. Great food. She cares about what she's doing. You can see it in her food, you can see it in her place. Stay with that. Stay with the people who have a passion and love what they do if you're going to actually venture outside your house and go take that risk of eating somewhere else. Wooden spoon. A little pricey, but he loves what he does. He loves food. He'll come out and talk to you about it. He'll share with you. Those are the places that you want to go. Don't be scared to go out to eat, but be picky. Be choosy if you're going to do it. If you're going to go spend your money, without a doubt.
Do any recommendations for cleaning your fruits and veggies?
Honestly, warm water. Stay away from anything other than that.
What about those soaps you could buy? Like basil?
I
heard vinegar.
Okay.
Vinegar and water.
I'm a big fan of vinegar and water. I'm a big fan of vinegar in general. You know what I use to clean at home with? Vinegar and water. Vinegar and water, absolutely. Stay away from pre-mixed lettuce. The baked product. Coleslaw, a good example. Why buy it when you can do it at home? Buy a head of lettuce. You like coleslaw? You guys like cabbage? You guys eat Brussels sprouts? You know, stay seasonal, stay local. Stay away from pre-washed and fabricated food. Canned food. And if you're gonna buy canned food, pay the money for it. Buy good product. Ask people around. Ask your grocer. You know, they'll know. Believe it or not. Get online. Do some research. You know, you guys all bought a car in your life, I'm assuming, right? You just go in there and buy it. You guys do some research on it. Look at it. Test drive it. Talk to people about them. But yeah, this is the stuff you're putting inside your body that you're just blindly walking into a place and buying and no clue where. I'm not going to pay for more money for something that's better, but when this is just as good, but is it? Be picky. You know, it's not for everybody, and if you're not going to go the whole 9 yards, that's fine, but like open up your horizons and like eat different vegetables. Try different things. Try different herbs. Think you eat ham sandwiches or turkey sandwiches and you put lettuce on it. That's cool. Get rid of the lettuce. Buy some cilantro. Eat the raw herb by itself. Believe it or not, it's outstanding. You know, you like spinach? Try something different. Go to arugula. It's a little bit peppery. It's got a little bit more flavor, a little bit more bite to it. A better contrast in flavor to spinach, in my opinion. Try your different kales. Try your different Swiss chard. Eat them. Play with them. The internet's a beautiful tool. Anybody can get it online and look at things and find beautiful recipes. I'll say it again, James Peterson. Don't forget that name. He spent a lot of time of his life writing cookbooks for people that aren't cooks, and he wrote those. He's not a cook, he's not a chef, but he wrote those by spending time with a lot of great chefs. So it's very great information, it's very informative, and it makes sense. Anything else?
No, I've had cilantro, and I think it tastes like dish soap.
Did you wash it?
Yeah.
Did you? Okay, so it's not for you, and that's fine. Move on to a different herb. Dill, gerbil, tarragon, scallions. Anybody cook with leeks? You know, go outside of your comfort for a minute. You know, you want to make a good simple salad? Here's a good simple salad for you. Take cucumber, however you want to cut it. Take radish, however you want to cut it. Take basil and a basic vinaigrette and toss it all together. Now you got a cucumber radish vinaigrette. Absolutely beautiful. Put it on a piece of the chicken. Put it on a piece of pork. Look for different ways to cook your food. You know, if you're cooking, you guys cooking pork tenderloin? How you guys cook pork tenderloin? You grill it? You grill the whole thing? You marinate it? Marinades are good. They add flavor. You start eating in lean meats, they start to be a little bit drier. They don't have as much flavor, but it's still a good source of protein, and it has less cholesterol, less fat. People tend to stay away from them because they want things that are more, fat tastes good, let's all admit it. So, if you're using things that are lean, make them happy. Add a brine to them, add a marinade to them, add some moisture to them so they don't dry out, so that they are happy. Sky's the limit when it comes to food. You know, enjoy it. Start with baby steps. Stop buying canned soup. You know, there's a good one. You know, I know you're not doing cream, you're not doing butter, but you can easily take like this butternut squash coulis there, add a little more salt and pepper to it, add a little bit more honey, a little bit more orange juice, and add some milk or cream to it, and now you got butternut squash soup. Boom. You have a meal.
That was so good, Chef.
Are we happy? Are we
So
good? Is there anything else I can share with you? I don't know a lot, but I know something. My wife, actually, I should have brought her with me. She is definitely quite a little nutritionist.
Say the butternut soup again. Butternut squash.
Butternut squash soup. Butternut squash, orange, ginger, honey, chicken stock usually, salt, pepper, your choice of dairy. Let it be half and half, let it be heavy cream, let it be milk. And for me, I like to just make it really happy, so a little brandy goes in. I like evening everything else out. That is like classic butternut squash soup. You know, you roast a butternut squash, put it in a pot like this, add some chicken stock to it, some salt and pepper, some fresh grated ginger, and cook it down. Make it happy. It starts simmering, give it like 20-30 minutes. At that point, add a little bit of orange juice, add a little bit of honey to it, brandy if you so prefer, blend it up. Now you have something that's very similar to this. You're gonna taste it, and it's gonna be like in your face because it's gonna be extreme because it's a base for a soup. Now because you're gonna dilute that with another product, a dairy, half and half cream milk. You turn it into a soup. Tomatoes, tomato soup. How simple can you get? Chop some tomatoes, put them in a pot. Onion, celery, fennel, garlic, vegetable stock, salt and pepper. Cook it down and blend it up and strain it. You got tomato soup. I know sometimes it's not practical, but I bet you a lot of you guys can vegetables, don't you?
Tomatoes.
Yeah, happy. Now you got them all year long. You got beautiful things that I've just opened up an envelope in my home to that with canning vegetables, but making your own jams, making your own salsas, canning your own fruits, pickling your own vegetables. Pickling vegetables is a great way to eat vegetables. Take any kind of basic vinegar solution and any kind of cut of vegetables you want and add it to it. I mean, pickles are great. Anybody else need some of this, or are we good?
If you've got some left, we'll share.
This time of year. But I stay away from, what's my wife keeps saying, the dirty dozen. Go ahead and Google that when it comes to vegetables. Stay with root vegetables, always fairly clean. You know, they might even not be organic, and they might actually get pesticide on them. But the root itself is buried in the ground, so you got a better chance of having something more fresh and happy. They seem to have a skin that you're not eating most of the time, so therefore you're not putting yourself at risk to having contaminants added to it. And don't let me steer you away from buying food from a long ways away, but I'm just a believer that everything you eat should be within your area to a certain degree. I think you're gonna have to make exceptions to certain things, especially when we talk about fruits, because of where we live.
Yeah.
You know, it's tough. I understand. You know, but if you're gonna buy them at least somewhere fairly close.
From your neighbor.
Neighbor's good. Community's good. Firm believer in that. Food is good. You know, you guys go to the grocery store and probably buy meat. There's just so many farms around you. I mean, it just seems like a travesty to me to do that. There's so many people that are like, there's I don't shop there, but isn't there two co-ops like right down the street from us? One next to I think it's Mikey's Burgers.
Yeah.
And that little, and then there's another
That's
guy.
the Livingston County co-op.
And
Really good stuff.
right before you get there, there's one right down here, which used to be across from the state cop shop. I'll age myself just a little bit.
It's
On
not
there.
fresh enough. Fresh,
Simply Fresh.
Simply Fresh?
Simply Fresh.
Yeah,
It's
and-
not a
and-
co-op, but it's all.
Oh yeah, so it's all
for the most part.
real local. They're really good people, and they have nice stuff, and actually they can connect you to other people. You know, go down those avenues. You know, I'm telling you, there's a difference in flavor. I don't buy meat from the grocery store. I hunt, I fish. I know a lot of chefs, and I buy a lot of stuff from farmers. You know, I have 4 children, so it's a little different probably from me to you, but I buy half pigs and quarter cows, and I buy fresh turkeys and chickens. And I'm telling you, these local farmers around you will not be opposed to selling it to you either. And you just need to start talking to people. Start with the farmer market. I mean, just,
Yeah, they're there.
they're there, and they're happy, and they're happy to share with you, and most of them know a lot more than you think they know. You know, you can make a great smoothie, believe it or not, put an avocado in there. It's good fat, I do believe, good for you. You know, listen to the people that, here's somebody who is good on health. It's right there on the door. Probably has information for you, if not somebody that can help you out. Believe it or not, people want to help each other and they want to share things. You just got to be open to listening. I know I'm no different than most. I mean, it was just 2 years ago I stopped using a checking account and started doing everything online. It was like I had to write checks, and my wife's like, join the time. But I'd be happy. Stock your shelves. Look good. Happy love.
I think these 21 days is gonna go pretty easy if all of our meals taste like that.
Especially if somebody else cooks them.
So, not to interrupt you, but let's say that's not, you're like, I don't want to do all that because that's a lot. Make a root vegetable mash. You don't want to roast them individually? That's fine. Put them in a pot and simmer them and boil them. That's okay. You're not going to get as much of the nutrients, but it's still better than eating like a mashed potato. You think I'm crazy, but if you took all this and then you mashed it together and made a mashed potato with it, you'd be surprised how good it was. You really would.
Terrific.
We're done.
We think we should invite him back for a post cleanse.
I would like to come back and be able to cook protein for you.
Do a beer and wine tasting.
I'm a big
Thank you
fan
very
of beer
much.
and cheese and wine.
I appreciate it, Joe.
All right.
Thank you guys for
Thank
being
you.
here tonight.
Very
Thank
good.
you.